Right, it's got to be the shoulder injuries. Specifically the rotator cuff injuries as the result of the good old bench press. Usually it's a dull ache, and they can train through it, and it gets warmed up and it feels comfortable, so they get a little bit excited and enthusiastic, and they go a little bit deep. So when you do have an injury, a rotator cuff injury, obviously you want to get a good diagnosis to see the degree of the injury, and just making sure that you're targeting the right structure. And then you start rehabilitating that tendon. And definitely rest is part of the equation, but rest, according to my definition, is not necessarily a pure rest and doing nothing. I call it active rest. So you're just loading the tendon, you're exercising the tendon, but in a therapeutic way. And we're talking about certain range and certain amount of loading. So that's going to be rehabilitating the tendon. But the important issue is you've got to train around your injury. You don't want to miss out on your training. And that is all about modifications and changing the angle and changing the style of your training a little bit, whilst you're getting some sort of treatment and the healing process is in place. Usually with rotator cuff injuries and especially bench related injuries, we recommend still benching, but instead of bar we use the dumbbells, depending on the degree of the injury and how the anatomy of the body is and how the biomechanics is, how much range of motion the client has. So essentially replacing the benching with the bar benching with dumbbell benching. So you're just mimicking a little bit more an anatomical range of motion. And also in a little bit more severe cases, I recommend cabling. You still need the training in your chest training. You don't want to miss out on that because you've got a shoulder injury. Extremely important. Don't miss out on your training. Enjoy your training. You worked really hard for it, and don't let a little injury get in the way. It's just to make sure the range of motion in your shoulder is consistent with what your training requires, which means that if you want to do deep benching to really engage the fibers, you've got to make sure the external rotation of your shoulder is sufficient for that. That's just the principle. If the range of motion is restricted and you want to take that joint to the extreme range, something unpleasant is going to happen. So the range of motion is really, really important. Also, the stability of the shoulder is very important. So if you get so excited about benching and you don't really look after the stability of the shoulder with all the sort of stabilization exercises, that's another way that you can actually endanger your rotator cuff. So range of motion and stability, they're extremely important.